Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So today we'll hear some more of Vidura's questions, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, and I'll read texts 30 through 35. 30 through 35, maybe a little bit of comments. We'll just keep moving through Vidura's questions, and then tomorrow and Tuesday we'll have different subjects. And then I want to read a little bit about Krishna, whose appearance. The whole idea of our coming together is to hear and chant about Krishna so that we can remember Krishna progressively, a little bit more each moment, a little bit more deeply each moment, so that alchemical transformation takes place in our heart eventually. So I just wanted to do a little bit about that. I will read a little bit from Nectar of Devotion and a little from Krishna book. Okay, so Canto 3, Chapter 7, Text 30. Yagyasya cha vitanani yagyasya cha vitanani yogasya cha pata prabho yogasya cha pata prabho naishkarmyasya cha sankhyasya naishkarmasya cha sankhyasya tantram va bhagavat smritam tantram va bhagavat smritam yagyasya cha vitanani yogyasya cha pata prabho naishkarmyasya cha sankhyasya tantram va bhagavat smritam yagyasya cha vitanani yogasya cha pata prabho naishkarmyasya cha sankhyasya tantram va bhagavat smritam. Others, please.
Yagyasya cha vitanani yogyasya cha pata prabho naiskarmanyasya cha sankhyasya tantram va bhagavat smritam
yagyasya cha vitanani yogasya cha pata prabho naishkarmyasya cha sankhyasya tantram va bhagavat smritam
yogasya cha vitanani
yagyasya cha vitanani
yogasya cha pata prabho
yagyasya cha pata prabho
naishkarmyasya cha
Dharmyasya cha sankhasya
Brahma Bhagavat Smritam.
tatranda bhagavatsmitam.
Synonyms. Yajnasya, of sacrifices. Cha, also. Vitanani, expansions. Yogasya, of the mystic powers. Cha, also. Pataha, ways. Prabho, oh my Lord. Or, oh my Lord. There's a rather dramatic response there. Naishkarmyasya, of knowledge. Cha, and. Sankhasya, of analytical studies. Tantram, the path of devotional service. Va, as well as. Bhagavat, in relation with the personality of Godhead. Smritam, regulative principles. Translation. Please also describe the expansions of different sacrifices and the paths of mystic powers, analytical study of knowledge and devotional service, all with their respective regulations. Responsibly, please. Please also describe the expansions of different sacrifices and the paths of mystic powers, analytical study of knowledge, and devotional service, all with their respective regulations. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The word tantram is significant here, and sometimes tantram is misunderstood to be the black spiritual science of materialistic persons engaged in sense gratification. But here, tantram means the science of devotional service, compiled by Srila Narada Muni. One can take advantage of such regulative explanations of the path of devotional service and make progressive advancement in the devotional service of the Lord. Sankhya philosophy is the basic principle of acquiring knowledge, as will be explained by the sage Maitreya. The Sankhya philosophy enunciated by Kapiladeva, the son of Devahuti, is the real source of knowledge about the supreme truth. Knowledge not based on the Sankhya philosophy is mental speculation and can yield no tangible profit. Text 31. Pashanda patavaishamyam pratilomandesham jivisagatayo yascha yataviyaku karmajaha. Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding and the movements of the living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work. So here again we see the movements of the living entities, not just according to their birth, but their nature and their work, the guna and karma. Krishna says that's how we distinguish where someone fits in society, not by their birth necessarily, but by their guna and karma. Remember King Rishabdev, who presented as a Kshatriya, and that's how we say it nowadays, present as. He presented as a Kshatriya, but not very many of his sons were Kshatriyas. 9, maybe. The rest were Brahmanas, including the Navyogendras, who King Nimi approaches at the beginning. gunakarma, qualities, nature, and work. So the essence of varnashram dharma is that people do work that they're naturally good at and that makes them happy in a way that progressively satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The combination of living entities in different modes of material nature is called crossbreeding. The faithless atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and thus their paths of philosophy are contradictory. Atheistic philosophies never agree with one another. Different species of life are evidence of varieties and mixtures of the modes of material nature. Text 32. Dharmartha kama mokshanam nimittanya virodhataha vartaya dandanitescha shutasya cha vitimvrata. You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and different processes of law and order as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Text 33, Shadhasya cha viding brahman, Pitrinam sargame vacha, Grahanakshatrataranam kalavaya samstita. Please also explain the regulations for offering respects to the forefathers, the creation of Pitraloka, the time schedule in the planets, the stars, and luminaries in their respective situations. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The time durations of day and night, as well as months and years, are different in the different planets, stars, and luminaries. The higher planets, like the Moon and Venus, have time measurement different from those of the Earth. It is said that 6 months of this planet Earth equal 1 day of the higher planets. In the Bhagavad Gita, the duration of 1 day in years multiplied by 1,000. And the month and year in Brahmaloka are calculated in that measure. Text 34. Danasya tapaso bhavi yachesta putayo palam pralasastasya yodharma yascha pumsa utapadi. Please also describe the fruitive results of charity and penance and the digging reservoirs of water. Please describe the situation of persons who are away from home, and also the duty of a man in an awkward position. Report. The digging of reservoirs for water for public use is a great work of charity, and retiring from family life after 50 years of age is a great act of penance performed by the sober human being, or those sober human beings. And text 35, Yena va bhagavam tushet karma yomi janardana sampasidati va yesham etad akya himenaka. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion, and all those who are candidates for religious activity. I'm going to read that again because I messed it up. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion and all those who are candidates for religious activities, kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied. Srila Prabhupada's purport. All religious activities are meant ultimately to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is the Father of all religious principles. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, 4 kinds of pious men, the needy, the distressed, the enlightened, and the inquisitive, approach the Lord in devotion to service. And their devotion is mixed with material affection. But above them are the pure devotees, whose devotion is not tainted by any material tinges of fruitive work or speculative knowledge. That brings us again back to our definition of pure devotional service, Uttama Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti, in the 11th verse of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Yabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadya Navadvip. Completely free from any other, from the desire for pursuing any other goals, including that of jnana, Srila Prabhupada consistently refers to as speculative knowledge, karma, and adi. Adi means it's an inclusive kind of a thing, and everything else, pretty much, except bhakti. And what is it that we do that's free of those things? Yabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmati Navartam Anukulyena Krishna Anushiva.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Did you say so? Anukulyena Krishna Anushiva. So when we talk about Uttama Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service, we mean completely free from these activities that are completely free from these other goals, and they're actually activities of the senses, activities of the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego, all intended to give pleasure to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are only miscreants throughout their lives are compared to demons. They're bereft of all knowledge in spite of any academic educational career they may pursue. Such miscreants are never candidates for serving the Lord. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnanam Janashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Yakrapatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataram Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sopadantikam Pancha Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sindhovya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Translations again. Please also describe the expansions of different sacrifices and the paths of mystic powers, analytical study of knowledge and devotional service, all with their respective regulations. Please also describe the imperfections and contradictions of the faithless atheists, the situation of crossbreeding and the movements of living entities in various species of life according to their particular modes of nature and work. You may also describe the non-contradictory causes of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, and also the different means of livelihood and different processes of law and order as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. Please also explain the regulations for offering respects to the forefathers, the creation of Pitraloka, the time schedule in the planets, stars, and luminaries, and their respective situations. Please also describe the fruitive results of charity and penance and of digging reservoirs of water. Please explain the situation of persons who are away from home and also the duty of a man in an awkward position. O sinless one, because the personality of Godhead, the controller of all living entities, is the father of all religion and all those who are candidates for religious activities. Kindly describe how he can be completely satisfied. So, in other words, he's kind of saying, and anything else I might not have already asked. But then he's covering, he's actually enumerating, naming all these different things he might not have already asked about. So he said, you know, okay, that's nice, that's really cool, but do you have a lot, do you have something, you know, I mean, I want to hear it all. I'm hearing from you. That's what my life is about right now. So please don't stop. So we see what a broad range of inquiry Vidura is submitting to Maitreya Muni, so we can expect some pretty interesting response. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears here now. I thought since we're going to observe the appearance of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we just hear a little bit. I wanted to read from Nectar of Devotion about the four of the 64 qualities, broad qualities that by which Krishna excites the love in the hearts of his devotees. These are called udipans, or stimulants, or excitants. They spark the devotees' love for Krishna and increase it whenever they encounter them or contemplate them. So I wanted to read from Nectar of Devotion the last four qualities, which are unique to Krishna. Not even Narayana has these qualities. And then I wanted to read at least some of a chapter from Krishna book where we may not get to on Monday. I guess we're going to start reading from chapter 1, just kind of go, from chapter 2, start with the prayers. We still probably, I want to read from chapter 5 when Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva meet. So, because it's a little bit about Krishna's birth ceremony and stuff. So I just thought a little bit of Krishna Katha would be, help us prime the pump. So this is from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22. So these are these four qualities: Krishna's Leela Madhurya, Prema Madhurya, Rupa Madhurya, and Venu Madhurya. His sweet pastimes, the sweet love that he exchanges with his loving devotees. Prabhupada says he's always surrounded by loving devotees. His beautiful form and his sweet food. So 61, performer of wonderful activities. In the Brihad Vamana Purana, the Lord says, although I have many fascinating pastimes, whenever I think of the Rasa Leela, which I perform with the gopis, I become eager to have it again and again. One devotee said, I know about Narayan, the husband of the goddess of fortune, and I also know about many other incarnations of the Lord. Certainly all the pastimes of such incarnations are exciting to my mind, but still the pastimes of the Rasa Leela performed by Krishna himself are wonderfully increasing my transcendental pleasure. So we just read this maybe a few nights ago in our evening Nectar of Devotion session, online Nectar of Devotion session. And every time I read it, this one section, it's so short. I mean, the subject is Krishna's Leela Madhurya, his sweet pastimes. So many sweet pastimes. He had 90 chapters of pastimes, Krishna's pastimes, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. The other cantos don't even get close. The longest account we have of the pastime of any of the avatars is 10 chapters in the 7th canto for Lord Nrsimhadev. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, who's the star of that show? Prahlad. Not Lord Nrsimhadev shows up for the climax, right? At the end, the stunning climax. But mostly those 10 chapters discuss the character of Prahlad Maharaj. Now in the other Puranas you may have more Lord Nrsimhadev and not as much Prahlad, but in Srimad Bhagavatam, because the subject here is Krishna Bhakti, and Prahlad is a Krishna Bhakta. The star of that show is Prahlad. So we take all these amazing pastimes, and they're all boiled, and they're not ignored in either of these texts that's cited. Even Krishna says, although I have many fascinating pastimes, and then the devotee in the other text said, I know about Narayan and I know about the pastimes of the other incarnations. But when I think about Krishna's Rasa Leela, oh boy. So it's all kind of boiled down in this ultimate pastime of Krishna's, the one that gives him the most pleasure. So I just always found that interesting. Elsewhere, you see Rupa Goswami quite broad in his attention to different moods. Here, it's just this one mood, and it's the very apex of that mood, the actual fulfillment of that love. 62, Krishna is surrounded by loving devotees. So this would be prema madhurya, sweet love. When we speak of Krishna, Krishna is not alone. Prabhupada made this point a number of times. Krishna is never alone. He's always surrounded by his devotees. Krishna means his name, his qualities, his fame, his friends, his paraphernalia, his entourage. All of these are included. When we speak of a king, it is to be understood that he is surrounded by ministers, secretaries, military commanders, and many other people. Similarly, Krishna is not impersonal. In his Vrindavan Leela especially, he's surrounded by the gopis, the cowherd boys, his father, his mother, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Gopi Janalapa, Girivardhari. When Srila Prabhupada explains that song, Jai Radha Madhava, he says, this is Krishna interacting with all the residents of Vrindavan. Sometimes devotees would say, this song would only be sung by someone in Madhurya Rasa, but this song is for everybody. Prabhupada says, including the animals and the creepers and the river and everybody. In the 10th canto, 31st chapter, verse 15 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis lament, my dear Krishna, during the daytime, when you go out into the forest of Vrindavan with your cows, we consider one moment to be 12 years, and it is very difficult for us to pass the time. And again, when you come back at the end of the day, by seeing your beautiful face, we're so much attracted that we're unable to stop looking upon you constantly. At these times, when there is occasional At these times, when there is occasional blinking of our eyelids, we condemn the Creator, Lord Brahma, as a dunce, because he does not know how to make perfect eyes. In other words, the gopis were disturbed by the blinking of their eyes, because for the moment that their eyes were closed, they could not see Krishna. Okay, I'm going to see the hands of everybody who has this problem. They start freaking out because when their eyes blink, they don't see Krishna. I know, your humility forbids you from. This means that the gopis' love for Krishna was so great and ecstatic that they were disturbed even by his momentary absence. And when they saw Krishna, they were also disturbed. This is a paradox. What was that line from the king? Is a puzzlement. One gopi expressing herself to Krishna says, when we meet you at night, we consider the duration of the night to be very small. And why speak only of this night? Even if we had a night of Brahma, we would consider it a very short time. We get an idea from Brahma's day from the following statement of the Bhagavad Gita. By human calculation, 1,000 yuga cycles taken together as Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of this night. The gopis said that even if they could have that duration of night, it would still not be sufficient for their meeting with Krishna. 63. Krishna's attractive flute. In the 10th canto, 35th chapter, verse 15, of Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis tell Mother Yashoda, when your son plays on his flute, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Indra, although they're supposed to be the greatest learned scholars and personalities, all become bewildered. Although they are all very great personalities, by hearing the sound of Krishna's flute, they humbly bow down and become grave from studying the sound vibrated. In his book, Vidagdha Madhava, Srila Rupa Goswami thus describes the vibration of Krishna's flute. Sound vibration created by the flute of Krishna wonderfully stopped Lord Shiva from playing his din-din drum. And the same flute has caused great sages like the four Kumars to become disturbed in their meditation. It has caused Lord Brahma, who was sitting on the lotus flower for the creative function, to become astonished, and Anantadev, who was calmly beholding all the planets on his hood, was moving in this way and that due to the transcendental vibration of Krishna's flute, which penetrated through the covering of this universe and reached to the spiritual sky. Why can't it penetrate this? When? And then 64, Krishna's exquisite beauty. There won't be time for chapter 5. In the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter, verse 12 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Uddhava tells Vidura, my dear sir, Krishna's form was most wonderful when he appeared on this planet and exhibited the potency of his internal energy. His wonderfully attractive form was present during his pastimes on this planet, and by his internal potency he exhibited his opulences, which are striking to everyone. His personal beauty was so great that there was no necessity for his wearing ornaments on his body. Again, let's do a quick pause here. Another section I thought about reading, and I was I don't want to embarrass anybody. I was inspired by another devotee's service which involves meditating on Krishna's beauty and the ornaments that decorate Krishna's body. And we had just, I think we'd been discussing that, and then that night we read the section in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Nectar of Devotion describing Krishna's ornaments. So I shared a couple of these texts describing some of Krishna's ornaments. So I was thinking of maybe doing that as well, but not this time. In fact, his personal beauty was so great that there was no necessity for his wearing ornaments on his body. In fact, instead of the ornaments beautifying Krishna, Krishna's beauty enhanced the ornaments. They become more beautiful, even more beautiful, when they're on Krishna's body. They become decorated, they become enhanced by his beauty. Regarding the attractiveness of Krishna's bodily beauty and the sound vibration of his flute, in the 10th canto, 29th chapter, verse 40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the gopis addressed Krishna as follows. The 29th chapter is the beginning of the rasa dance. Although our attitude toward you resembles loving affairs with a paramour, we cannot but wonder at how no woman can maintain her chastity upon hearing the vibration of your flute. It just causes heartbreaks. And they just fall apart. And not only women, but even strong-hearted men are subject to falling down from their position at the sound of your flute. In fact, we have seen that in Vrindavan, even the cows, the deer, the birds, the trees, everyone has been enchanted by the sweet vibration of your flute and the fascinating beauty of your person. In Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava, it is said, one day Krishna happened to see the shadow of his beautiful form reflected on the jeweled foreground. On seeing his bodily reflection, he expressed his feelings. This is Krishna seeing a reflection of his, and not a perfect reflection of his own beauty, and still it blows his mind. How wonderful it is that I've never seen such a beautiful form. Although it is my own form, still, like Radharani, I am trying to embrace this form and enjoy a celestial bliss. So there's a desire in Krishna that can't be satisfied in this, as Krishna, so he has to come as Lord Chaitanya. This statement shows how Krishna and his shadow reflection are one and the same. There is no difference between Krishna and his shadow reflection, nor between Krishna and his picture. That is the transcendental position of Krishna. The above statements describe some of the wonderful reservoirs of pleasure within Krishna, as well as the transcendental qualities of his personality. The transcendental qualities of Krishna are compared to the ocean. No one can estimate the length and breadth of the ocean. But as one can understand the ocean's contents simply by testing one drop of it, so these statements will give us some understanding of Krishna's transcendental position and qualities. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, "My dear Lord, the inconceivable qualities, beauties, and activities which you have revealed by your presence on this planet cannot be calculated by any material measurement. If one even tries to imagine Krishna may be like this, that is also impossible. The day may come, when the material scientist, after many, many births or after many, many years, will be able to estimate the atomic constitution of the whole world. Or he may be able to count the atomic fragments that permeate the sky, or he may even be able to give an estimate of all the atoms within the universe. But still, he will never be able to count the transcendental qualities in your reservoir of transcendental bliss." Sri Krishna ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Anybody have anything they want to add?
On Krishna's flute, I think I might have mentioned this before, but I had a pretty mind-blowing experience about his flute personally. I was trying to draw him, trying to sketch him on a wall for a mural, Krishna's form, like his flute, and I couldn't find any way to capture the organic symmetry of his body and the curves and the shapes. And I discovered that the only place to start in even attempting to capture him was his flute. And it was
Wow.
It was a way. It's the only straight line that he has in his form.
The only straight line.
Yeah, it's a part of him. It's separate from him, and I found it was a way that I could scale him to the wall too. I thought that was really cool. You said about how he scales in the flute and the sound and creating things is so cool. It's so cool.
He's said to be crooked. He's got the threefold bending form so that when he gets into your heart, it's like a hook.
Yeah.
You can't get him out.
Also, there's a verse, I can't remember if it's a verse of Srila Rupa Goswami's or a verse that he references maybe in Padyapali. I have to find it. I can't remember the Sanskrit, but the gist is that love moves in a crooked way, as a snake or a river moves. So it's not, love's not a straight, it's not a straightforward thing. There are always going to be, and you see this in Krishna's dealings with Radharani. It's always just like, everything's just going great, and then something catches Krishna's eye, Radharani gets peeved, Krishna gets worried, and Radharani gets worried that she might hurt Krishna by her peevishness, but she's not going to yield, so he's got to send one of his Suhitsaka, one of his Priyanarma Sakas, to one of the Manjaris, who goes to one of the Gopis, who goes to Lalita or Vishaka, and listen, you know, the guy's falling apart over here. Can you cut him a little, you know? No. You know. Putting her foot down. So yeah, I like that. The fact that I hadn't really thought about it like that, because I let my art, my visual art fall apart long enough ago that I never actually attempted. Well, I think I might have attempted to draw pictures of Krishna. And I crumpled them, tore them up, chewed them up, spit them, you know, I mean, it was just...
Yeah. I was just bewildered staring at the wall.
The last painting I did was when I was 13. And I looked at the painting and it looked like it had been done by a 13-year-old. I never painted again. Was done by a 13. I mean, it wasn't Renoir, so I thought, why bother? I like that. Thank you so much, Betty. That's wonderful. Grantharaja Srimad Bhagavatam Vijaya Jaya. Krishna Janmashtami.